Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. USC released their official depth chart heading into the 2023 season. The boys are going to break it down in the hotel kitchen. We're still talking some USC football. And before we even get into it, just want to say to the USC football community, I can't thank you guys enough for all the support you guys have shown. This has been one of my favorite teams to talk about all offseason. We are in game week. We got our official depth chart. We speculated all month about this. Now we get to break into it. So one, if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, can't thank you guys enough, especially the USC fans, for rocking with the boys like you guys have. And then secondly, put in the comment section your biggest takeaway from this depth chart. There are a few things that surprised me that we'll get into. A lot of chalky, a lot of stuff that's not surprising, but we do have some position battles that probably are going to continue to shake out through the 2023 season. Going to get into those. So let me know in the comment section what you guys are thinking. And again, thank you guys for rocking with the boys. And let's get into it. I want to start at the wide receiver position because that is the position that, for one, that you're going to see a lot of rotation with these guys, but I cannot wait to see what Lincoln Riley does with all this talent. And the first thing that kind of stood out right away is the big oar between Kyron Hudson and Brendan Rice. Brendan Rice was a guy that, a lot of fall camp buzz on. I think will probably be one of the more productive receivers for USC, but Kyron Hudson, the former three-star recruit, I believe, making some noise. You heard a little bit of rumblings for him. Sounds like he's going to play on the field a little bit more than we thought he would. And I think that just speaks to the depth of this USC team on both sides of the ball. You're going to see a lot of oars. And I think that shows you Lincoln Riley and the staff are really comfortable with a lot of different starters that could be playing for USC. Now, in that slot, this is like an embarrassment of riches at this point. You have Mario Williams. He has that Caleb Williams connection with their time at OU. You saw it last year. Mario Williams, one of my favorite players on this roster. Here's one thing I'll note. You're going to see a healthy dose of Mario Williams. If you guys have been listening to me, you know I'm a huge fan of Taj Washington. Zachariah Branch is going to be really hard to keep off the field. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of burn as well. One thing I'll say at that slot position, I hope we get to see some Deuce Robinson in kind of that jumbo slot, working the middle of the field. I know he's listed as kind of a boundary receiver, 6'6", 225. If you guys have seen what Kansas City does with Travis Kelce in terms of not lining him up in line as a traditional tight end, but that jumbo slot position, I kind of hope you see Deuce Robinson with all that speed and size and athleticism twitch on the boundary. I think the middle of the field is going to be opened up. And for a guy with 6'6", 225 pounds, you get him on a nickel, can't deal with that size. You get him on a linebacker, can't deal with the speed. Deuce Robinson, I wouldn't be surprised to kind of work in that jumbo slot situation. Now, going down to the other wide receiver position, no surprises here. Dorian Singer, we got to scroll down. Dorian Singer probably going to be your go-to guy on the other side. Mekhi Lemon making some noise. Jacoby Lane making some noise again. An embarrassment of riches at this wide receiver position. And kind of go off it, the tight end position, Lake McCree, I'm not saying I don't like this tight end spot, but I have a feeling you'll see a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. And that's just because you got 7, 8, 9 guys who are just matchup nightmares, true athletes on the outside. You're going to see the tight end. You're not going to not see any tight end all year. That being said, just how the personnel shakes out, and this is no knock on this tight end group. It's just when you look at all the talent in the wide receiver position, for me, I'm sure Lincoln Riley's probably thinking the same thing. You probably want 4 of these guys on the field. Now, next, I want to go to the quarterback spot. Just kidding. Caleb Williams, your quarterback 1. No surprise there. Miller Moss listed as the 2. Malachi Nelson as the 3. That, means something for the 2024 season potentially, that Miller Moss is ahead of Malachi Nelson. But Malachi Nelson is a true freshman. He's going to get some playing time. You're going to get to see what he has and what he brings to the table. No surprises in that quarterback room. Let's go to the running back room where you have another oar, and this is kind of what I expected. Austin Jones, Marshawn Lloyd. You guys know how I feel about Marshawn Lloyd. And again, it has nothing to do with Austin Jones. Austin Jones was phenomenal when Travis Dye went down with the injury. I'm a massive fan of Marshawn Lloyd. Can't wait to see him run behind a really good offensive line group. Then you got Darwin Barlow and then Quentin Joyner, who I think you'll see a lot as well. But I'm kind of with this. I think you'll see 2 bell cow running backs with the potential of a guy like Barlow or Quentin Joyner to emerge as well. Again, if you follow Ole Miss, Quinshon Judkins was listed as the running back 3 behind guys like Zach Evans, Ulysses Bentley. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the year, we're talking about Quinshon Judkins being one of the best college football players across the country. So you could see something like that with Quentin Joyner where you expect to have 1 running back, but then you ride the hot hand. I wouldn't be surprised if Quentin Joyner, you guys know I'm a big fan of him, could kind of emerge in that backfield. Now let's go to the offensive line where you saw some things that you really like, right? Jonah Monheim moving over to that left tackle spot. And I heard Elijah Page, who just looks like an absolute mountain, 6'7", 310 pounds, is making some good strides. I think most importantly, you feel really good about the depth. The big takeaway I had is the big oar between Emmanuel Pregnon and Alani Noah, the true freshman. That's a really good sign for USC in terms of the future of this program. I would be surprised if Emmanuel Pregnon is not trotting out there for the first drive with this first team offense at left guard. That being said, the fact that Alani Noah is an oar in this roster says something about what Lincoln Riley thinks and what this staff thinks of what Alani Noah can do in terms of the future. Like, you got to be really, really excited. Justin Dedich as your center, Jarrett Kingston, Michael Tarkin. No surprises there. That's kind of what we thought. Now, I want to dig a little bit into the defensive side of the ball. You have some really interesting oars and positions to talk about on the defense. And if you guys have listened all summer, like, this is what I'm most interested in. I know this offense is going to be good. Quite frankly, I do care, but I don't really care where the wide receivers are. A lot of them are going to play. This offense is going to put up some crazy numbers. If this defense takes a step, which you guys know I'm really optimistic it can, you're looking at a really, really complete team and one of the most dangerous teams in college football. Now, I want to start on the defensive line. Anthony Lucas, Jamel Muhammad, you guys have been at me in the comment section about not giving Jamel Muhammad enough credit. Anthony Lucas, from what you hear in spring practice and into fall camp, is Anthony Lucas is a dude, transferred from Texas A&M. But again, we talked about it. He didn't transfer because he wasn't getting playtime. He transferred because he wanted out of that program. Anthony Lucas, I think, has a very, very high ceiling. But Jamel Muhammad getting the oar with him, like you have, and this is what I mean with all these oars, like there's a ton of depth. Like that is telling me that Lincoln Riley, this defensive staff, Alex Grinch, has a lot of confidence in a lot of these guys. So when you see the oars, that means, hey, we're comfortable playing Jack Sullivan or Stanley. You know what I mean? And that's what you're really excited about if you're a USC fan, is all the oars you see on the defensive side of the ball, because that tells me they're really confident in this depth. Now, that nose tackle position, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Kyan Bars and Barry Alexander kind of rotating on that inside and that defensive tackle, nose tackle. Kyan Bars, a dude that I really think could be a breakout. A lot of hype goes to Barry Alexander, the big name transfer from Georgia. If you've been keeping up with what Kyan Bars is doing in the weight room, like benching 225, 30 plus times, freaky athleticism for his size, this is why I'm so high on the USC team. This is a group that is deeper on the defensive line, and that is what they needed. Last year, they had some guys. Tooley was awesome. The depth just, quite frankly, wasn't there. You saw it in the fourth quarter. You saw it at the end of the season. Much, much better in terms of the depth on this defensive line, and that's what you got to be most excited about. And then we got to talk about Solomon Byrd, the rise. I mean, he was largely an afterthought. Like, I didn't even see much out of spring camp. The Wyoming transfer from last year, starting defensive end. And there's no awe about it. And if you're telling me Solomon Byrd beat out Romello Height, who I think is super talented if he can stay healthy, Corey Foreman, who was a former 5-star, top 5 national player out of high school, you got to be feeling good about Solomon Byrd and his progression during spring practice and fall camp. Corey Foreman as your third defensive end on a defense, that's telling you something about this USC depth. Now, the biggest surprise I think I had was at that linebacker spot where my guy, Tackett Curtis, is getting the start at will linebacker. If you guys have been listening, you know how high I am on Tackett Curtis. I think you'll see a healthy dose of Eric Gentry. I think you're going to see him kind of eased back in with all those injuries. You guys know what I feel about Eric Gentry. I think he can be truly a special linebacker, but Tackett Curtis, like, he's my guy. And I cannot wait to. So I believe the first starting freshman linebacker since like 2015 for USC, tells you a lot. And I love that you take a young Tackett Curtis who's still learning the game, but has a freak athleticism, looks the part. You put him right next to Mason Cobb, who's played so much football. That's kind of a match made in heaven. A really experienced Mike linebacker in Mason Cobb, and then let Tackett Curtis learn right next to Mason Cobb. Really, really good combination there. And then in the secondary, I want to go to Damani Jackson first, winning that starting job on the opposite side cornerback room. We've talked a lot about Damani Jackson. We did things to watch. Damani Jackson, just like I said, Corey Foreman, a sleeper, a guy that I think can be an all Pac-12 conference caliber guy, potentially even an All-American guy. As a Michigan fan, wanted to see him in Ann Arbor. Damani Jackson staying healthy during fall camp, winning that starting cornerback job. For USC fans, you have to be absolutely thrilled because I think he offers the highest ceiling in this cornerback room for the USC Trojans. And another surprising position battle, Wright beating Christian Roland Wallace out. There's no or about it. Wright is your starting cornerback on the other side. And again, like you're talking about a all-conference performer in Christian Roland Wallace getting beat out for the starting quarterback job. So that's telling you that's like Sayer White making some serious strides. And then at the safety spot, you have Max Williams or Bryson Shaw. I heard Zion Branch really making a go at it too. And then Kalen Bullock, I think, can be an All-American, one of the best safeties that you see. If he can shore up that tackling, like Kalen Bullock is going to be a real stud, not only in college football, but at the next level. In my opinion, what you see from this USC depth chart, kind of given my overarching thoughts is, and this has kind of been the reason why I'm so high on this USC team heading into 2023, is the depth. I mean, how comfortable Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch on the defensive side of the ball with all the oars. I mean, we're comfortable with multiple guys starting at different positions. So if a guy does get banged up or you need to rotate, you're rotating with guys that Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch, and this defensive staff are comfortable listing as oars, potential starters. That's where it's key for USC. They had some names last year on the defensive side of the ball. They didn't have the depth. This year, they have the depth. You see it in the depth chart. This is a team that is extremely dangerous. We've talked about how this team is going to shake out. We still probably don't know. And you don't know if you'll totally find out against San Jose State this weekend. If you're a USC fan, you're excited about the depth chart. You finally kind of understand how these players are shaking out. I'm really excited to watch this team in 2023 this weekend. Can't wait. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys again. If you do enjoy the content, you want to support the boys, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.